welcome to the Splash Alive. Don't you love that music? It kind of gets you going so early in the morning. I need it because I only had one cup of coffee today. The show today all about the people of the greater West Bloomfield community, and I am your hostess with the mostest on this adventure, Ronnie Dahl. Hey, check your calendars. The August primary, still weeks away, but it's already busy over at the clerk's office as workers get prepared. And to talk more, we want to bring in our good friend Debbie Binder, the West Bloomfield Township clerk. Miss Debbie, I learn so much every time I talk to you.
Hi, Ronnie. Always good to be here, and I hope to share some more information with you today.
So I always get confused when it comes to the primary because it's a straight party voting, right?
What you have to remember is in a primary, you're selecting who's going to represent the party, not who's going to be the final vote. That's what you do in the general election. So in the primary, you have to stay on one side of the ballot for the partisan section. If you cross over to the other side for one of the contests, you end up avoiding the ballot, your partisan section of your ballot. So it's really important that you stay on one side of the ballot. It's different than a presidential primary where you actually receive one party ballot. You actually have a ballot in a regular primary that has both parties on different sides, and you need to be really careful not to cross over.
You have a lot to learn when you are the clerk, right? All these little tiny details, so that we can make sure our vote does count. Anything different this year? I know last year there was a lot of talk about the absentee ballots, but it seems like we're getting used to that now, and so many other states have been doing that for years.
We have seen a huge shift in absentee voting. It's beginning with Proposal 3 of 2018, which was an amendment to the Michigan Constitution voted on by the citizens of Michigan, which provided for no reason absentee voting. And we saw our permanent absent voter application list increase from 8,000 to 11,000 during that period. And then with the COVID time, when a lot of people were choosing to go vote from home, including myself, I tend to be a precinct voter, but I did vote absentee during COVID. We saw that list increase to about 24,000, and we saw the percent of turnout by absentee ballot in West Bloomfield increase as well. So voters are choosing that to their right to vote by absentee ballot. So we do need to make sure that they are aware. One big difference between an absentee voter and a poll voter is that a person who's in the poll, if they make a mistake, the machine's going to throw the ballot back to them and allow them to correct the mistake. But if they vote by absentee, there's no voter there. So that ballot would get cast as is, meaning if they cross over, if they were to do that in the precinct, they could correct that ballot. But when it happens by absentee ballot, there's no voter and it will be cast as is. So it's really important that that education component take place ahead of time and that the voter be aware of how to vote that primary ballot.
So what are some of the more common mistakes that you're seeing from voters?
Really, that's one of the most common, is seeing that they cross over in a primary. The other one is that their signature doesn't match when they turn in their ballot. Every application and every ballot has to have a signature verification, that we have to have a matching signature. Typically, it's matched to their driver's license or their state ID, but we do verify the signature. Sometimes they try to be so perfect that it doesn't match what we have on file. Now, when we do get a ballot in that has a signature issue, we are making every effort to contact that voter by email, by phone, and by sending out a letter if there's time, so that the voter has time to cure the deficiency. But to make that happen, it's important that the voter plan ahead. Don't wait until last minute, because if you turn your ballot in at 7 o'clock, we're not going to be able to catch you. So plan ahead, turn that ballot in as early as possible. We were able to, with messaging in 2020, cut down the amount of ballots that came in on election day from 20% of our absent voter ballots to 4% by messaging and telling people to get that ballot in early. That's really going to be another important message this year, Ronnie, is to tell people, don't wait, get that ballot in early. The mail can be delayed. There's all sorts of things that happen to hold up you don't want to have your voice not heard. So make sure that you are turning that ballot in. If you have to rely on mail, plan ahead, allow time, and if you have the ability to use one of our drop boxes on either side of Town Hall, I recommend that you do that. Return your application or ballot using those drop boxes. Another important thing people don't realize that I don't know if I'd call it a mistake, but people don't realize is we have people that will say to us, you send me an absentee ballot every year. I don't ever fill out an application. We don't send a ballot unless we receive a signature verified application. What may happen is the voter fills out a dual application for an August primary and a November general and forgot that they filled out that application, but we must receive a signed application for every election, which could be a dual application for a primary general in order to send a ballot. The only exception to that would be our military and overseas voters who are allowed to request a ballot for the entire year. But everyone else must request with an application a ballot for each election.
There's so much to know as the rules change. I'm still old school. I want to go in and I want my sticker at the end.
I'm with you. I like to go in and get my sticker too.
So what is the typical turnout for an August primary?
Well, I think we're going to see a different turnout for a typical gubernatorial primary this year because we have seen that the change with Proposal 3 of 2018 and an increase in absentee voters. Every person on our absent voter application list will receive an application. So that's like notice that there's an election coming. So people that may not have previously known there was an election will now be aware that there is an election coming. So I think we will see numbers increase. We anticipate we'll see about a turnout. We have 54,000 registered voters in West Bloomfield Township, 55,000. We figure we're going to see a turnout between 18 and 21,000, with about 14,000 of those ballots being cast by absentee. We do know we will be above our typical gubernatorial turnout based on the Proposal 3 and the increase in absentee voting. So that's what, I've been proven wrong before, but typically we've been pretty able to guess what we're going to see in turnout.
One thing with COVID, I was really surprised that the last election that we didn't have a higher turnout, because I feel like we now know how important these super local elections are to our community. The school board, your local, elected leaders, because they were making the decisions when it came to, COVID. And so I'm hoping that people realize their vote really does matter, and they get out and they exercise their right. So many people died for us to be able to do this. And with that, can I ask you, because I was looking the other day and I can't find my voter registration card. Do you need that when you go to vote, or is your driver's license good enough?
Your driver's license is what you want to bring. We actually always say that it should be called a voter information card, because you do not need to bring that to the polls. What you bring is your license with you, your driver's license or other applicable photo ID. In absence of having photo ID, a voter may vote signing an affidavit of their identity. But that voter identification card, where that's really important, is to show you what your districts are and where your precinct is. So it is important to note that this year every single voter in West Bloomfield will receive a new voter ID card to let them know we've had redistricting from the 2020 census. So a good handful will have a change of polling or precinct, even though most will not change polling location. We tried to be very careful with that, but all of those changes, every single voter in West Bloomfield Township will receive a new voter identification card. But you do not need to bring it with you to the polls. If you do, great, but what we need you to bring is your driver's license or the acceptable photo ID.
Miss Debbie Binder with us here on the Splash. Anything, Debbie, maybe I didn't ask that you want to add?
One important thing for people to know is that we are always open, and this is by statute, the weekend before an election. The hours can vary This year we will be open from 8 to 4 the Saturday prior to an election for absentee voting. We know it's not always easy for people to get here on, during a work day, so we do have Saturday hours as well. They can vote by absentee. They can request an absentee ballot up to 4 p.m. the day before the election. There's a lot more details to that. If anyone has questions, I would recommend they contact the clerk's office at 248-451-4848. We can help you with any information that you might need. But know that, again, it is your right, it is protected, and we do anticipate that we will see a turnout. We have typically had a good turnout in West Bloomfield Township for our, in terms of the percentage of voters. So I know you talked, Ronnie, about people exercising their right. In a presidential, we typically have had 65% turnout. Or I'm sorry, 75% turnout. We were at 79% in 2020. And in a gubernatorial, we'll be well over 60, which outperforms the state average. So we are a community that cares, a community that votes, and a lot of the help that you guys give us to get the word out and important information, it really does help make that difference. So can't thank you enough, and hope to be able to share more with you as we get closer to election date, but can't stress enough to please tell anyone who has questions, call your clerk's office. Even if you want to see, what the life of an absentee ballot is like, call. I'll take you on a tour. You can see how many checks and balances are in place to protect your vote. So I open that opportunity. Call my office if you're interested, and thank you very much for your coverage of an important topic.
And I would imagine you always need volunteers.
We do, and they're actually paid volunteers, we could say. We do pay our election inspectors. It's not enough per hour, but they come back because they know it's an important job that they do. We do have a change this year that Oakland County will be processing our absentee ballots that are received before 4 p.m. the Monday before. So we will need fewer than usual, and right now we have a good list, but things change, and we are always looking to recruit a new group so that we, as we have retirees, we have people that have done this for 20, 30 years, but as they retire, we always need to add. So if anyone's interested in getting involved, please reach out. You'll find out that we need a lot of different skills, and we have to have all parties represented in a precinct and in a polling location. Most activities in an election process take place in the presence of 2 different parties. So it's important that we have everyone represented, and I encourage anyone thinking about getting involved to know that it's a great opportunity. It's a great experience. Everyone complains it's a long day. It is, and everyone comes back because they know they're part of something big.
What a great way to serve your community as well. Debbie, thank you so much for your time. We so appreciate it.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you so much. Enjoy a nice rainy day.
I know. It's a good excuse to stay home and, binge on Netflix.
Yes, it is. I agree. But I'm at the office. I guess I'm not doing that today.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too. And just a reminder for everyone out there, we like to highlight someone from the greater West Bloomfield community going above and beyond to improve our little corner of the world. Show your gratitude. Tell us about them. We made it easy. You can scan that QR code right there on your screen. Fill out the Google form with the person's contact info and why you think they should be recognized. It could be a person, business, or an organization. We would love to know about them. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with The Splash Live.
In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important. And now the same is true as we face the flu. Influenza has the potential to infect millions, putting lives and the healthcare system at risk. Fortunately, it's easy to protect yourself. The flu vaccine is safe and effective, and with COVID-19 still spreading, it's essential. To see how you can hit this virus head-on, visit michigan.gov/flu.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
And now, back to The Splash Live.
The community continues to show support for the staff of Gino's Pizzeria. The Jacket Club of Keiko Harbor has been collecting money for the staff following the restaurant's May fire. To date, $3,900 has been collected and distributed to 21 employees to help them out while renovations are underway. The popular restaurant is hoping to have repairs completed and the doors reopen in August. Laurel Riviera from EM2M Fitness has made it to the finals in the Miss Health and Fitness competition, but she needs your help to win it all. Laurel started EM2M Fitness in Keiko Harbor as a way to inspire and help others use fitness to reach their goals in and out of the gym. The winner of the online competition will be featured on the cover of the magazine and take home a $20,000. Show Laurel some support by going online and voting. And we also want to let you know the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce Health and Wellness event is back. It's happening June 8th, tomorrow from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. at West Bloomfield Town Hall. Coach Gayle is going to be there. Stop by, say hi. She is going to be giving away 2 free exercise sessions. And by the way, it's free to attend. And we are going to be talking with Coach Gayle here right after the break. You're watching The Splash Live, a show dedicated to all things West Bloomfield, Keiko Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and Orchard Lake.
We'll be right back with The Splash Live.
Teens a day die from texting and driving. Don't text and drive.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
And now, back to The Splash Live.
Oh, welcome back. I'm Ronnie Dahl. You know, the saying goes, you can't outrun a bad diet. I've tried, but knowing what to eat and how much can get so confusing. To help us sort it all out, Coach Gayle Taub is with us. Good morning.
Good morning, Ronnie. How are you?
Good. You know, it does get confusing. It seems simple enough, right? Calories in, calories out. But as we age, our body changes. So how do we know when to change our diet?
Yeah, that's probably one of the hardest things to answer in a general way. But here's what I would say. The body needs balance. So if you choose a diet or an approach to eating that has a lot of exclusions, just make sure that you really understand and trust that you're making a good decision about what you're not eating or what you're choosing to eat a lot of in order to lose that weight. So, you know, the balance and the portions are really what confuse people the most. How much of every food group? What are the food groups? Part of the reason that we have so much trouble is there's a million different claims and programs and ideas and approaches that the world is taking, and you don't quite know where to look first. So the recommendation that I have is, if you're doing this on your own, that you might want to look at the 3 main groups of foods that are important to the body, which are carbohydrates, fats, and protein. And in addition to that, while there are carbohydrates and protein and some of the other nutrients in green and very hearty vegetables, that vegetable group is a 4th category. So kind of look at how you're eating and see what it is that you think that you're balancing as far as the choices that you're making, and remember that the body needs it all.
You know, I may be dating myself a little bit here, but I remember growing up and they had the pyramid, you know, from I think it was the U.S. Department of Health or something, I don't know. But now we're learning that that maybe wasn't the best way to try to figure out what to eat. So I know I have an app on my phone and I'll try to track it, and you do start to say, wow, I ate so much more than I thought I ate.
Yeah, so the pyramid is one way of categorizing food. It strikes up the idea that you need, the categories that it uses has more to do with like the dairy and the different kinds of nutrients that are in foods, and how much you should have. At the end of the day, Ronnie, the diets that are well balanced are all saying the same thing. They're just saying it differently, which is the confusing part. If you have protein, if you have carb, fat, and vegetables in your diet, then you're going to be in really, really good shape. Now, that pyramid also has a category of dairy, and there's different ways that you can look at that as well. But you can get dairy if you look at it in those 4 categories that I just said, because there's protein in dairy, there's fat in dairy. So if you have an approach that you've learned, try and keep it to that one approach. Try not to mix ideas. Try not to categorize this way and follow that, not eating sugar, not eating carbs, whatever it is that you're doing, counting calories, counting macros. Choose one thing and stick with it and see how it helps.
You know, as I've gotten older, you come to, you know, think carbs are the enemies. You know, it's like, no, you can't eat a carb. But our body needs some carbs.
Absolutely, 100%. That's where our energy comes from, along with good fats. So the bottom line is, the way that I teach, Ronnie, is a framework for healthy eating, as opposed to a diet and follow my direction. We've got enough of the programs out there where you can follow the direction, and we've had that conversation before, that you'll follow it until you don't want to follow it anymore, right? So the way that I teach has a lot more to do with a framework for healthy eating, giving you a guideline, and then having you take steps toward improving your diet toward that framework, one step at a time and on your terms. And I do use the categories of protein, carb, fat, and vegetables to categorize. When I teach, there is no calorie counting, there is no macro counting, there is no weighing your food. My approach helps you to look at what you're eating, read labels, understand what you have choices, what your choices are, and then make the choice that's best for you based on that knowledge. And there isn't a, hey, you've done it right or you've done it wrong.
So, Coach Gayle, if I can ask you, because you just mentioned macros. Macros confuse me. What exactly are they?
Macros are those, it's a way of numbering and looking at nutrition and the foods that you eat that isolate the protein, the carbs, and the fats. Those are the 3 really important. Macro means big. Those are the biggest food groups or nutrient groups that we need in order to fuel our body. And, you know, the way I look at it is this. Again, if you find something that works for you, then do it. But the people that are interested and work with counting macros, which some of the apps do, which some of the programming does out there, that's really, while it's one way to do it, it's very scientific. And, you know, it counts your broccoli as a carb because there is carb in broccoli. But that's not the way that most people live, Ronnie. That's the problem. It's not. We don't live by science. We don't care about the broccoli, and right? We care about feeling good and getting to the weight that we belong at and feeling good in our own skin and having the energy and the sleep and the biometrics at the doctor's office. That's what most people want. So if you're a bodybuilder, count those macros. If it works for you, count the macros. But otherwise, not really successful for a lot of people because they don't understand what they're doing.
That's me. So I probably have messed it up, you know. So can I ask you, just another minute or two here left with you, but can I ask, when it comes to portions, do you recommend that we measure our food out?
You know, some people are black and white thinkers, and it's helpful to them. The way that I help people understand how to eat healthy, though, is to learn by looking and noticing, and that way that there's no circumstance under which you can't take care of yourself and eat right. On vacation, if you don't have a scale with you, it's hard to measure or weigh your food when it's not handy. So I do teach a way of visualizing and understanding the appropriate portion for you based on looking at the food as opposed to weighing it.
You know, I'm thinking about, they call it, I think, shrinkflation right now, because we're still paying the same price, but the bags and the portions are getting smaller. Maybe that's a good thing for all of us.
Well, it's funny. It's funny because you mentioned portion, and that's something that's packaged. Serving size, which is listed on the label, which is something that you learn when you work with me, is much different than a portion size. A portion size is how much you actually eat, and the serving size has to do with the way they calculated the division and the nutrients in that bag. They're very different, serving and portion. We're focused on portion size because that's what you're eating.
So, Coach Gayle, I love your shirt.
Oh, eat better, play better.
Exactly. That is great. I know you're going to be at the event tomorrow.
Yes.
You know, do you know where you're going to be set up at all?
I don't. I actually don't know which table will be mine, but you can notice me. I will have my logo is very colorful, and it is with a lot of black. So look for me. Here's my face. I'll look just like this tomorrow. And I really hope that some of you make it out. I hope to meet you, introduce each other, and see where it goes.
Right, and start the conversation. And I want to invite people to go on to civiccentertv.com and watch some of the past interviews we've done with Coach Gayle, because you have such great information. So before we say goodbye, what's your phone number for people to be able to contact you?
Call me at 248-885-1400 or message me through my website, coachgayle.com.
Well, we so appreciate your time, and I hope you have a very successful event tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, Ronnie.
You too. That's pretty much going to wrap it up for today's edition of the Splash Alive. I want to say thank you to all of our guests for taking time to be with us. We so appreciate it. But we also want to say thank you to you, our friends in Sylvan Lake, Keiko Harbor, Orchard Lake, and West Bloomfield for tuning in. And in case you didn't know, you can also catch the Splash live on My Michigan TV. It's a new streaming service dedicated to telling stories about the people and places across the Mitten State. You can download the app for free on your smartphone or smart TV. And if you happen to miss an episode, you can always watch by visiting civiccentertv.com and check us out on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm Ronnie Dahl. I'll see you tomorrow bright and early. Happy day, everyone.